For the last 40 years, the global economy has been running an experiment. The experiment was simple. Can we replace income with credit? Can we maintain the illusion of a middle-class lifestyle, the house, the 2 cars, the annual vacation, not by paying for it with today's labor, but by borrowing against tomorrow's earnings? For 4 decades, the answer seemed to be yes. Interest rates went down, credit limits went up, and the standard of living, on the surface, looked great. But experiments eventually end, and the data from late 2025 suggests that the lab is closing down. We are currently witnessing the beginning of a phenomenon that economists call the Great Deleveraging. It is the mathematical inverse of the last 40 years. Instead of credit expanding to fill the gap in your wallet, credit is contracting. Instead of borrowing from the future to enjoy today, the future has arrived, and it is here to collect the bill. If you feel like you are earning more money than ever, but you are broker than ever, you are not crazy. You are just living through the deleveraging process. The middle class was an economic anomaly built on cheap debt. Now that the debt is becoming expensive, the middle class is being forced to adapt to a new, terrifying reality. By the end of this video, you will understand the mechanics of this debt cycle, why the lifestyle creep of the 2000s is mathematically impossible in the 2000s, and exactly how the smart money is positioning itself to survive a decade of austerity. This is not a recession. This is a structural reset. To understand why the system is breaking today, we have to look at the drug we've been addicted to since 1981. That drug is called cheaper money. In the early 1980s, a mortgage cost you 18% in interest. Because the cost of money was high, the price of assets, houses, cars, stocks, had to be low. You couldn't overpay because the bank wouldn't let you, but starting in the mid-80s and accelerating after 2008, central banks pushed interest rates down, and down, and down, until they hit zero. When money is free, price doesn't matter. If you can borrow $1 million at 2%, $1 million house feels cheap. This created a wealth effect. The boomer generation and Gen X watched their home values skyrocket. They felt rich, so they borrowed against that wealth to fund consumption. They used their houses as ATMs. They leased cars they couldn't afford to buy in cash. This was the leveraging phase. It's like a party where the bartender keeps handing out free drinks and says, "Don't worry, put it on a tab, pay me in 20 years. Everyone feels great. Everyone is dancing. The economy looks like it's booming. But here's the dark secret of credit. Credit is just spending money you haven't earned yet. When you buy a house on a 30-year mortgage, you are effectively selling 30 years of your future labor to the bank in exchange for the house today. That's fine, as long as your future labor becomes more valuable. But for the middle class, wages didn't keep up with the debt. So, to maintain the lifestyle, we just borrowed more. By 2024, total U.S. household debt hit $17.5 trillion. Credit card debt smashed through $1.1 trillion. We maxed out the credit card. And then, in the mid-2020s, the bartender turned on the lights and asked for the money. What triggered the Great Deleveraging? Inflation. When inflation returned in the 2020s, central banks were forced to raise interest rates and keep them high. Suddenly the math broke. The era of free money ended, and when money isn't free, assets aren't worth as much. This brings us to the deleveraging process. Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates, describes deleveraging as the painful process of reducing debt burdens relative to income. There are only 4 ways to deleverage an economy, and we are seeing all of them happen right now. Mechanism 1. Austerity, the silent depression. This is what you are feeling at the grocery store. Austerity doesn't always mean the government cuts spending. For the individual, it means your discretionary income vanishes. Your mortgage payment went up, or your rent did. Your car insurance doubled, your food costs rose 40%, but your salary only went up 4%. The result? You stop buying things. You cancel the Netflix subscription, you skip the vacation. You drive the old car until the wheels fall off. This slows down the economy, which leads to Mechanism 2, wealth destruction, the asset pop. We are seeing this in real time in the commercial real estate market, and it's bleeding into residential. If interest rates stay at 5% or 6%, a house is simply not worth what it was when rates were 2%. As people realize they can't afford the payments, they sell. But nobody can afford to buy. Prices correct. For the middle class, whose primary wealth is their home, this is catastrophic. It is net worth evaporation. Mechanism 3, default. Look at the delinquency rates on auto loans and credit cards in late 2025. They are at levels we haven't seen since 2008. When people simply cannot pay, they default. This destroys the lender's capital and tightens credit even further. The banks get scared, so they stop lending. Try getting a small business loan right now. It's nearly impossible. That is deleveraging. This process creates a feedback loop. Less borrowing equals less spending. Less spending equals lower corporate profits. Lower profits equals layoffs. Layoffs equals more defaults. This is the cycle we are entering. It is the unwinding of 40 years of excess. But what does this actually look like for your daily life? How does the American dream change when the credit tap runs dry? The most profound shift of the Great Deleveraging isn't financial, it's cultural. We are moving from an ownership society to a usership society. In a high interest rate environment, ownership is a luxury. If you cannot afford the debt to buy the asset, you are forced to rent the asset from the few entities that have the capital to own it. This is the "you will own nothing" meme, but stripped of the conspiracy theories and viewed through raw economics. It's not a cabal plotting against you, it's just the cost of capital. In 1990, the middle class goal was to own a home, 2 cars, and a collection of physical goods, movies, tools, appliances. In the deleveraging era, that capital intensity is too high. We are seeing the rise of subscription serfdom. You don't buy the car, you subscribe to a mobility service. You don't buy the house, you rent from a massive institutional landlord like Blackstone. You don't buy the software, you pay a monthly fee. This creates a bifurcated middle class. Group A, those who locked in assets during the low-rate era, pre-2022. They have 3% mortgages. They own their cars, they are insulated. Group B, those trying to enter the market now. They face 7% rates and inflated prices. They are locked out of ownership, possibly forever. This is the death of social mobility as we knew it. The ladder has been pulled up. For Group B, the younger middle class, deleveraging means a smaller life. Smaller apartments, fewer children. Demographics are collapsing because kids are expensive. Less consumption. It sounds bleak. It sounds like decline. And if you try to play by the old rules, if you try to leverage your way into a lifestyle you can't afford, it will destroy you. But there is a way to adapt. There is a way to thrive in a deleveraging world. But it requires completely rewiring how you think about money. Darwin didn't say the strongest survive. He said the most adaptable survive. The Great Deleveraging is an extinction event for the consumer mindset, but it is a golden age for the producer mindset. Here is how the smart money and the resilient middle class are adapting to 2026 and beyond. Strategy 1. Radical liability shedding. In a deleveraging, debt is toxic waste. The good debt versus bad debt argument is changing. When rates are higher than inflation, all debt is dangerous. The survivors are those who aggressively pay down liabilities to lower their burn rate. The goal is to reduce your monthly fixed costs to the absolute floor. If you don't have payments, you don't need to be a slave to a corporate job that might lay you off. Freedom in this era comes from low overhead, not high income. Strategy 2. The asset-light life. Stop trying to own depreciating assets. Do not finance a $60,000 truck that loses value every day. The new status symbol isn't what you own, it's your liquidity. Cash is king during a deleveraging because cash allows you to buy assets when they inevitably crash. While everyone else is selling their toys to pay the bills, the person with cash picks them up for pennies on the dollar. Strategy 3. Skill acquisition over degree acquisition. The era of financing a $100,000 degree for a mid-level management job is over. That is a bad leverage bet. The economy is shifting toward tangible value, trades, specialized tech skills, agriculture, repair. In a deleveraging economy, people fix things rather than replace them. Be the person who fixes things. Strategy 4. Decentralized wealth. If the banking system is contracting, you want some wealth outside of it. This is why we see the continued resilience of gold and Bitcoin. These are assets that have no counterparty risk. They are not someone else's liability. In a world where credit is collapsing, bearer assets, things you actually own and control, become the lifeboats. The middle class of the future will look different. It will be smaller, leaner, and more resourceful. It won't be defined by a McMansion and a luxury SUV. It will be defined by financial autonomy, multiple income streams, and a rejection of the debt slavery that defined the last 40 years. We are going back to basics. Spend less than you earn. Save the difference. Buy real things. It sounds boring. But in a world going crazy, boring is what keeps you alive. The Great Deleveraging is not the end of the world. It is a correction. It is the economy returning to mathematical reality. The pain we are feeling now is the withdrawal symptom from a 40-year addiction to easy money. And like any withdrawal, once you get through the pain, you are healthier on the other side. The artificial wealth is being burned away, leaving only what is real. You have a choice right now. You can cling to the old world, try to borrow your way out, and get crushed by the machine. Or you can accept the new reality. You can deleverage your own life before the market does it for you. You can build a foundation on rock, not sand. History creates hard times. Hard times create strong people. We are entering the hard times. It's time to become strong. I'm going to be documenting this entire cycle, every data point, every signal, and every strategy to protect your family, right here on this channel. The mainstream news will tell you the consumer is strong right up until the moment the bottom falls out. I won't. If you want the truth about the economy, no matter how uncomfortable it is, click that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Do not face this cycle alone. Thanks for watching. Position yourself, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.